This is Julia,
Jennell, Ashtyn,
Laura,
and Chloe.
Today we will be talking to you all about Articles 6 through 10 in the Declaration of Human Rights. We will begin with discussing the Declaration's history.
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is an international document that states basic rights and fundamental freedoms to which all people are entitled. It was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on December 10, 1948. This document was constructed as a direct response to World War II and the massive crimes against humanity that were committed by the Nazis. It was written by 18 members of the Commission on Human Rights, a group which was chaired by Eleanor Roosevelt, and most of its legal status was given to the document in 1976. Today, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights stands as a framework for which the countries of the United Nations can refer when determining new laws, fixing corrupt practices, and enforcing the protection of the rights of their citizens. It illustrates the rights that are unbreakable in every nation and provides a streamlined set of values that may not be corrupted.
Articles 6 through 10 are stated as follows. Everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. All are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection of the law. Everyone has the right to an effective remedy by the competent national tribunals for acts violating the fundamental rights granted him by Constitution or by law. No one shall be subject to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. And finally, everyone is entitled in full equality to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal in the determination of his rights and obligations and of any criminal charge against him.
The commonality in all of these articles is that they are rights pertaining to people as they relate to the law. The Universal Declaration for Human Rights advocated for a fair enforcement and protection under the law for all people. Article 6 of the Declaration states that everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. This article is in protest of contemporary slavery and also illustrates that everyone has rights no matter where they are in the world.
Article 7 states that all are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection of the law. All are entitled to equal protection against any discrimination in violation of this declaration and against any incitement to such discrimination. This means that everyone is entitled to the same rights under the law. There should not be discrimination within the laws because everyone has the right to protection from discrimination. Some types of discrimination include racial, sexual, religious, or even age.
Article 8 states that everyone has the right to an effective remedy by the competent national tribunals for acts violating the fundamental rights granted him by the Constitution or by law. This essentially means that everyone is entitled to a public attorney when testified against. Under the circumstances that one cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided by the state. An individual is allowed to consult with an attorney and can refuse questioning until one is available. In these cases, one cannot be declared guilty until proven otherwise.
Article 9 states that no one should be subject to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. This means that one cannot be punished without reason or called guilty without evidence. Article 10 states that everyone is entitled in full equality to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal in the determination of his rights and obligations and of any criminal charge against him. This means that everyone is entitled to a fair representation in a trial, but there should be a public jury in order for the people to be unbiased against the individual in court.
A case that truly represented the 8th article and in fact was the leading cause as to why this was instilled into the Declaration is the Gideon versus Wainwright case. Clarence Earl Gideon was a Florida resident who was charged with breaking and entering in intent to commit a misdemeanor when he broke the Bay Harbor pool room door on June 3, 1961, in between midnight and 8 a.m. Gideon smashed a record player and a cigarette machine and continued to steal money from the register. Gideon was reported seen leaving the pool room around 5:30 that morning with cash in his pockets and a bottle of wine. For this reason, he was arrested. When Gideon appeared in court, he failed to bring counsel with him because of his inability to afford representation. Gideon asked to be represented, but was denied considering he wasn't charged with a capital offense. Therefore, he had to act as his own counsel and defend himself in the situation. The jury returned a guilty verdict, and Gideon was sentenced to a 5-year prison sentence. As he sat in the Florida State Prison, he began to write a letter appealing to the United States Supreme Court challenging his conviction. He discussed the fact that he was denied counsel and his Sixth Amendment rights were violated. In response, Gideon was assigned attorney Abe Fortas to fight for his case.
On March 18, 1963, Justice Hugo Black announced that under the United States law, an individual who desired counsel but could not provide it for themselves would be provided by the state. He further addressed the fact that the Sixth Amendment does not distinguish between non-capital and capital cases. This was a fundamental right and is essential for a fair trial. When returning to be retried, Gideon chose W. Fred Turner to represent him at court. When fighting for his rights, it was decided that his punishment would be reversed and remanded. Due to this decision made by the government, over 2,000 individuals were freed in Florida alone because of the specific court case. It is now known that throughout the states, an individual has the complete right to counsel and can refuse testification if one is not provided.
Unfair trials in Somalia. Somalia is a small country located in the eastern region of Africa. In the military courts of Somalia, they violate the basic human right of Article 10, which means the people are being subjected to persecution without fair representation and without a public jury to help justify any sentence an individual receives or does not receive. Somalia began this unfair military treatment starting in 2011 when 2 government soldiers convicted of murder by the military court were executed. These people that were convicted were said to be selling ammunition to other countries, but within the trial they had no legal representation, and the military court denounced them guilty and executed them. People all over the world were upset over this action because it went against the basic human rights. People wanted the government of Somalia to make sure no one was ever going to be persecuted in a military court, considering they had no mercy for those who needed representation.
Overall, Articles 6 through 10 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights mainly refer to the idea of having a fairness under the law. In order to ensure that this occurs, everyone is entitled to the rights stated in the Constitution or by the laws. All are entitled to no discrimination under the court of law. Counsel would be provided for an individual. One cannot be considered guilty without lawful evidence, and all citizens are entitled to a fair and public trial. It also illustrates that these universal laws shall be upheld in every nation, and no matter where people are located, they have all these rights to fair treatment and representations as a person.
Given these rights, it is ensured that an individual will not receive unfair treatment by any public or government official, and all rules and regulations when undergoing testification against a person will be followed. The inclusion of these articles proves that there is a need for these rights to be documented because in several cases, like the examples we have given, these are not being upheld.